Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Yes, I'm trying to mix up my words apparently. I apologize for that. My name is Leo with the Orange County Realtors. Good afternoon to you, and thank you for joining me here for an exciting class of zip forms. I'm going to be touching the some of the features that zip forms offers, and since it is 2 o'clock, I will talk for a couple more minutes before I really get started. But I just want to let you know that the information that I'll provide is how to use zipForm software. I unfortunately won't be able to provide you with any legal information, how to complete a form. What does this mean? Is this the right form to use in a given situation? And unfortunately, I would have to refer you to either your broker for assistance or to the California Association of Realtors legal hotline. Either one of those two resources can be able to assist you. But if you have questions with zip forms, by all means, go ahead and ask through our Q&A icon that you'll find on within Zoom. And if you have any further questions beyond this class, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to answer your emails or your calls or voicemails. I'm really good at responding to voicemails. Okay, so I try to talk for 5 minutes, but apparently me being decaffeinated doesn't work. So I will get started. So let's get started. So we're going to cover, like I said, we're going to cover some of the features offered by zipForms. Now, this is a realtor benefit, being a member with our association as well as the California Association of Realtors. It's zipForms, zipForms Plus. And once again, this is me, Leo Luera with the Orange County Realtors. My phone number, I work at the Fountain Valley location. My phone number is 714 area code 375-9313, and my extension number is 239. Once again, my phone number is 714 area code 375-9313, and my extension number is 239. If you happen to call the Laguna Hills location, 949-586-6800, that's okay. Just put in the extension number of 239. You'll still get a hold of me. And if you want to send me an email, by all means do so. leo@ocrealtors.org. I've been with the Orange County Realtors since 2007. I started off in membership and transitioned over to become the super key specialist and have trained on different topics throughout the years. So my topics that I usually cover would be zip forms, membership, and Supra. So I can be there to assist you. We have other trainers that can assist you with MLS, and we do have someone, actually, his name is Colin, who goes out and talks about government affairs as well. Great resource to take advantage of. So do get a hold of us if you have any questions. So there's the other trainer, Anthony Breed. So if you need to reach him, he's currently away at the moment, but here's his contact information. I'll skip that for right now because I'm readily available to answer your calls and emails. Today's agenda, we're going to log into zipForms Plus. So for those who have never logged into zipForms, we're going to go over that step by step. We're going to create a transaction. We're going to submit it out for signatures. We're also going to create and use templates, and we're going to use some additional tools. So I wanted you to get a heads up. You can take notes there. If I heard you correctly, Miss Elsie, those who don't know, Elsie is one of my coworkers. We're going to be recording this video, and it should be available by, I believe, by Monday. So we'll send it out to all of you who are attending. And if you have any questions still regarding this, like I said, give me a call or you can send me an email. I'll be more than happy to assist you. Okay, so let's help those who have not started logging into zipForms. So just for those who have not logged into zipForms, if I could have some of you let me know if you've never logged into zipForms, the California Association of Realtors website. You can say so on the Q&A channel. I appreciate that. Well, let me get back to that. Q&A, anybody? Anybody? Did I, also one thing, can everybody see my my PowerPoint as well? Just want to make sure you all can see my PowerPoint. If you can't, let me know, please. Cannot see, Elsie. We're going to start. Again, there is me. And let's go here. Let me move this around here. Come on, moving things around to make it fit. Let's see, I'm trying to make things fit. Sorry about that. There we go. There's my information once again. Leo with the Orange County Realtors. If you need to reach me for any reason, Leo at ocrealtors.org, 714-375-9313. And the other trainer is Anthony. He's away at the moment, so you could be reaching out to me for meantime. We can, there's the agenda for today. And let me look at the Q&A real quick. Excellent. Cannot see screen share. Yes, now we can. Excellent. And it will be emailed to you. Excellent. Okay. So for those who have not signed up for zipForms, you'll go through, there's a number of different ways to go into zipForms. The way that I normally tell agents in a training is that you're going to go into the California Association of Realtors website of car.org. So on the top left, you'll see that there's the website, car.org, and that is different than our website, ocrealtors.org. I mean, yes, there are links that you could find it through our website to get to it, but my training is typically go through car.org because ultimately you have to get there to sign in because you have to use your CAR credentials that you're going to create. So the first step would be after, let me go back. You will click this circle right here to the left of the person, standing or sitting. You're going to click Access Realtor Secure Transactions. You're going to click the link here that says Access Now under Transactions, which appears under your CAR member benefits. Now, this is owned by a company called Lone Wolf. Lone Wolf bought it out from the California Association of Realtors some time ago. So when you see Lone Wolf, that is indicative of zipForms. So after clicking Access Now, you're going to see a pop-up screen that says username and password. Now, if you've never created a username and password with California Association of Realtors, you have to click Register. If you have created a username and password, go ahead and put your credentials in. If you forgot what the credentials are, click the link that says Forgot Username and Password. But for those who have never registered, you're going to click Register. You're going to put in your National Realtor Database System ID number. That's a lot of syllables. We just call it your NERDS number, but it's soon being transitioned to being called now your M1 number. And then you'll put in your last name. Now the NERDS ID number, it will be created by the local real estate association that creates your membership. Typically, it's where you would join that association, pay dues with. So if you need assistance to finding out what your NERDS ID number is, you can contact us for assistance. Any one of our membership team can be able to assist you looking up what your 9-digit National Realtor number is, NERDS ID number. And once again, it said 9-digit National Realtor number, which differs from your DRE license number, which is 8 digits long. So just want to make sure that you know there's a distinction between the two. And of course, you'll put your last name in and then click Submit. Now, over here on the right-hand side, for those who came into the office to sign up in person, we have our membership guide, which we wrote in your NERDS ID number in, so you could find it there as well. So signing up for zipForms, you're going to click, excuse me, there is an email address that we have on file for you. You're going to notice it is going to be broken up like this, and then you're going to click the link that says send code. Now, so it's important that the email address that you provide to us can receive those emails. If you have trouble getting that CAR code, give us a call. We'll update your profile to an email address that'll be easier. Let me move this over here. Sorry about that. I don't talk that much sometimes. Hence my reason for having my cup of joe there. So the next step, 8. Once the agent has received the verification code, input the code. And then click continue. This is where you're going to create the username and the password. Excuse me for just a moment. I'm back with you. Okay. So you'll create the username, the password. It'll be a mixture of letters and numbers, uppercase and lowercase. And special characters are allowed. And then you'll also have a call-in code that's been sent to you as well. And then you click this button here. It says I have read and agree to the terms, the end user license agreement, the EULA agreement, and click continue. Now you want to enter in those CAR credentials, the username and password that you've created. And then it'll open up a new window. Welcome to Lone Wolf Transaction zipForm Edition. And you'll click Continue to Transactions. So to go directly to zipForms Plus. And that's it. That's how you create your CAR credentials. And now you're logged into zipForms. I apologize, my voice is changing all of a sudden, but I'm hanging in there. So when we log into zipForms, typically you're going to see the home screen, which is going to be the transaction screen. Now you're not going to see all these different icons in the bottom because this is a profile of someone who has accessed zipForms in the past and has done a number of transactions in the past. This is our one of the trainers here with us. And these are all fictional transactions. But up here on the top, you'll notice that there's a dashboard, forms, transactions, templates, etc. I am going to go into the CAR website because there's some important things that I want you to take a look at before we start creating a new transaction. So let me exit out of this PowerPoint. Yes, I still use PowerPoints because I love PowerPoints. It makes things easier for me. So now I go into, oops, there we go, CAR. Oh, by the way, this person here, who is that person? It's one of the realtors from the California Association of Realtors, just like you. And all you have to do to be this person is just float your mouse over the person's name and click submit application because then you could be this person. And this changes all the time when you go to the CR website. So you could be this person. And some of our realtor members are actually on this screen, and that's a great way to promote yourself through the CAR website. So anyways, that I just want to let you know about that. So let me sign in first to the CAR website and go into zipForms. Now, it's very important to make sure that the information that you see on the screen matches is the correct information. So on the top right corner of zipForms, you're going to notice an icon that is a icon of a head. I took the liberty of adding my own picture to it, which I recommend you can if you wish, because it's all about marketing. If you click that icon on the top right, you'll see these three different things: profile and settings, English, choosing a language, and sign out. I'm going to choose profile and settings. After choosing profile and settings, you want to make sure that this information is correct. If you see any information that is incorrect, like let's say, oh, that's an old email address, I need to correct that, then go ahead and do so right now. leo@ocrealtors.org. That's my correct email address, my correct contact information. You'll put in your license number, state affiliation. This section here, a lot of agents skip the portion of the email signature. I recommend completing it because This is going to appear every time you do a correspondence between clients, agents, and anyone else that you send information out from zipForms and into someone else. So I've done sincerely. You could do something else of another greeting if you wanted to. And then this is about contact information and my fictional DRE license number. So you want to put in your DRE license number and the brokers that you are affiliated with there. I'm going to hit save because whatever changes I made, I'm going to hit save. Here, sign in and security. This is my username. Two-factor authentication, you can turn it on if you wish. So if you're an individual that sometimes goes into a Starbucks or a coffee shop to take advantage of their Wi-Fi, I would recommend a two-factor authentication to turn this on. If you're in areas where you're not going into a public Wi-Fi, it's still recommended, but you don't have to if you don't want to. But this is where you would turn on a two-factor authentication so that way make sure that your account is secure. Offices, this is very important. So especially for those who canceled their membership and came back um, and have a different brokerage that they're with, you want to make sure that this information is updated. If it's not, go ahead and update the information. If it doesn't stick, then you want to give us a call because more than likely there's a transfer form that has to be completed by you and your new broker to update our files before you can update the office information. But if it has been updated with us, then you just update it here and then click Save. I'm going to skip over to Settings. In Settings, this is where you can choose between the different digital e-signatures. For example, AuthentiSign, this comes at no charge, no additional charge for your zipForm account. That's true in the state of California if you're a Realtor member. In other states, if you were to change your membership to another state, you may notice that you have to pay for AuthentiSign. But here in California, that's a membership benefit, so you don't have to worry about that. DocuSign, on the other hand, that is a paid service. You can get DocuSign at a discount. It's, I believe, last I checked, was $240 a year for a comparable service that AuthentiSign provides. You would sign up directly through DocuSign. If you have problems with using DocuSign, you would contact DocuSign directly. But if you have problems with AuthentiSign, then you can contact us. You can contact the California Association Realtor support line. You can also contact zipForm for assistance, and I'll give you that information later today. One important thing, if you're going to use AuthentiSign, is just make sure the time zone's correct. If your client is in North Carolina, for example, if your client's in North Carolina, then you want to choose the Eastern time zone. So that way, if you're sending out documents to them, that way, whatever documents that they sign electronically, it will be correct for that time zone. Because you don't want to be in a situation where siblings, for example, if they're signing a transaction, they're going to be co-buyers. You have one that signs it at 9 o'clock a.m. our time, but they sign it at say 10 o'clock their time, but they signed it first. So it will be like, what? What does that mean? So just minimize your drama. Make sure the time zone is correct. Pacific time zone. Also, some people take a look at this time interval for transaction autosave. Now, this is kind of important. This will, if you leave it off, I've been spoke to CAR, and leaving it off means that it's going to autosave all the time. If you prefer that it doesn't autosave as soon as possible, you can change it to every 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 20, 25 minutes, 30, and 60 minutes. So if you leave it off, you're going to be fine. Oh, and by the way, if you want to put in what the interest rates are, you can. I don't know what they are offhand. I'm going to put 6.25 if you ever want to use the calculator. That's offered by zipForms. Whatever changes you make sure you hit save so that way it stays there. Last thing is about notifications. You want to be notified every time that something is happening within zipForms. So I've enabled my email notifications. I want to make sure I'm enabled every time someone sends me a correspondence or something happens to a transaction. I don't use Doc Inbox, but I have it turned on in case I ever want to use it. If I'm in the middle of a transaction, something happens to my transaction, I want to be notified. Documents, I most certainly want to be notified. There's a share function. We're trying to figure out if it works or not. I had trouble with it yesterday. So I have that as a notification. Broker approval, you can enable that if you want to. You don't have to if you don't want to. And list flash and offer place, and there's other features here. So whatever things that you want to enable, click save, and that's it. So after saying all that, I'm going to dive into creating a transaction. Now, before I do that, any questions about anything I've covered so far? I know I've said quite a bit. There's a Q&A over here. I've been using Edge and I had to switch to Chrome. Um, you know, the tough thing is that some browsers will behave differently. We've heard problems using Safari. We've heard problems using Edge. We've heard problems using some of the other browsers, but we've heard fewer problems when people use Chrome. So a lot of us here, when we do trainings, we use Chrome. So often you'll speak to a trainer, whether it be myself or somebody from the California Association of Realtors, or even zipForms. We will recommend that you use Chrome because it's what we've experienced. I've never used Mozilla, Firefox, Opera to see if it made a difference. And if you wanted to use those browsers, you can do so when you're practicing. I wouldn't recommend testing it out when you're working with a live client. But if you're practicing sending documents between yourself back and forth with yourself and a fictional client, by all means, practice with whatever browser you are comfortable with. But Edge, yeah, yes, unfortunately, Edge, we've experienced some problems. So moving on, I hope that helps. I really do. Moving on, we're going to create a transaction. So there's a number of different ways to create a transaction. And by the way, these icons, you're not going to see any of this information here. The layout of it, it will change. If you click list view, you can do list view. Some people are more comfortable this way. I prefer the icons looking like this. It's just much easier on my eyes, but you can prefer to change the setup if you wanted to. But for moving on to transactions, when I click new on the top left, the plus sign, you will see that I have a choice, a new listing, a new purchaser offer, a new lease, a new lease listing, or a quick e-sign if I have a document that I just need a quick signature on. You can do that. But in this transaction that I'm going to create, I'm going to pretend that I'm representing a buyer. We want to put an offer on a property. So I'm going to put new purchaser offer. So I'm going to be working with a client. Let's see. I'm going to work with Charlene, client. Now, for the name of the transaction, you could put in the name of the person. You can put in the address of the property you're going to be working on, or you can do a combination of both. And for me, I do a combination of both to make it easier to help me find the right transaction if I'm looking for it. But if I, but it's entirely up to you. If you prefer just the name of the client because you're only going to see them once every 7 years, that's fine. If you prefer just the address, that's fine as well. It's whatever makes sense to you. Uh, so I'm going to say IE, Inland Empire. Now here for the address, I prefer that you put in the address so that way it will populate into your documents since you're going to put an offer on a property. But there's a shortcut. So in MLS Connect, this little icon here on the right-hand side, this is one of the membership benefits that's enabled. And you would click that. This will allow you to use your CRMLS credentials. It was going to link it the first time you do it, but you're going to use your CRMLS credentials to pull in that listing that's live in MLS and populate it into the transaction. Now I pulled one randomly. Um, why? Because I had a pretty picture. That's why. So, and in no way am I recommending it. No, it's just it was a nice picture of a property. That's pretty much it. So I do kudos to the person who um, took the photos of the property. So this property is in West Covina. Okay, and nice picture. If you look it up, it's pretty. So it is in West Covina. So I can change the name of it to because as I was typing this, I was like, what city is it in? I forgot it. West Covina, Covina. Just leave it as West Covina. Now we put in the category. Is it residential, industrial, multi-unit, etc.? We're going to residential. And then down here, we're going to leave it as active because it's an active offer on a property. It's not pending. It's not a prospect where you're talking to a potential client. It's not inactive. Um, it didn't fell through. So it's a brand new offer that we're going to send to another agent. And then comments, you can put comments if you wanted to. It'll stay with the transaction. It won't go anywhere. It'll be only accessible to your zipForm profile. So after putting this information here, you're going to see that, wow, look at all the information it populated. This property is at lot number 28. There's the address for it. There's the MLS ID for it. It's in the county of Los Angeles. The zoning number, the assessor's parcels number. It was built in 1947, etc. And then there's other information here. Purchase summary. You can put an offer date. You can input all the information that you want there. It'll populate into the documents that you're going to add shortly. The buying side, there's not information there. Listing summary, there it is. Listing price is 2.5 million, and then etc. So focusing on this transaction, I'm going to put in. So since I'm representing a buyer, I have to put in my buyer. Now there's me, there's the listing agent, and then the buyer. So you would input all the information of the buyer here. Now, if the buyer is an LLC or a trust, you would put that information here, but the person who is signing on behalf of that trust, they would be right here. So since in my case, I'm going to use Charlene Client, I have already saved her in my contacts. There she is. And now it populates her information there. She lives in the good old city of Fountain Valley. And then I'll click save. And if I had multiple buyers, I'll go buyer one, buyer two, buyer three, etc. So there are the individuals for the transaction. There is the documents, which is nothing. Right now, there's nothing except for an archive folder. When I do a transaction, I strongly recommend that you have added a folder because you want a folder for signed documents. Because eventually, hopefully, you're going to be sending documents out to your client to sign. So those documents will end up here. Now, where do you find the forms, disclosures, etc. that you need? On the top right is a button that says All Forms. Now, there's various libraries that you have access to. Now, the one that has the most forms, that's disclosures, will be the one offered by the California Association of Realtors, as well over 400. But there's other libraries. There's America Home Shield, which has a relationship with Lone Wolf. There is also the Finance Helpline Library, offered to you to help out your clients with financial information. The CAR sample letters, created by the CARP Paralegal Department, help desk as well. In case you run into situations where there's abandoned property, the fence blows down, who's going to pay for it, etc. There's also excuse me, the California Regional Multiple Listing Service. There is a form there for you. EPUBs, e-publications, and foreclosure prevention library, Home Guard, OC Realtors, there's our disclosure, and Old Republic Home Protection. That's a relationship that they have with zip forms, Lone Wolf. But let's start with just our library from the California Association of Realtors. So you would put the forms that you need. Now, what are those forms? Those are going to be recommended probably by your broker, the California Association of Realtors Legal Hotline, or whatever mentor you're working with. So you can just add the forms of just, if you see what you need, you can click it. By the way, those with dots right here, this one, this one, this one, this one, they purposely have dots because the California Association of Realtors knows that to put these most popular forms at the top of the list, you put a period at the very beginning. So that's the reason why they have periods. Otherwise, you have to search and look for each one of those forms. If you know the form's name, like let's say you know that you need to complete a residential purchase agreement, RPA, you would simply just choose the one that you desire. There's two of them there. If you're looking for an agent visual inspection, you're like, gosh, I could use agent, but it sounds too general. If I type in visual, then perhaps I could find it this way. There it is, agent visual inspection. In your real world life, you're going to be adding a lot more forms. I mean, I forgot to show you how to add our Orange County disclosure form. We go into our library. We clear this because we only have one form called the Orange County Local Area Disclosure. Now, this won't apply in this particular transaction because guess what? West Covina is in Los Angeles County, not Orange County. So if it does not apply and you're like, oops, I added that by incorrect, go ahead and click the little box here and you'll click delete. If you don't click it, you just say, what's this little arrow do? If you click the drop down arrow to the right of it, you're going to see that you have a lot of choices, including delete. So I click delete and it's gone. So in your real world situation, you're going to have all these forms that you'll need. And one thing also is like, Leo, what happens if I just need a reminder about getting inspection reports? Because I might need to do inspection reports. Well, there's a way to have a reminder for this transaction. You click Add Doc. Now you can pull in docs from your computer. So if there's a document that your broker has said, I need this document to be included with every offer. If you're doing a transaction, LA County, West Covina, whatever, then you're going to search your computer to find that document. Um, and there's also, you could pull documents from Dropbox, Box, OneDrive, but I want to add a placeholder. The placeholder is a reminder saying that I need an inspection report. So that way, and I'll make it required. So now it's there. This is my reminder that every time that I look in this transaction, like, oh, okay, I have to do an inspection report. And you can set a due date if you wanted to. And there's so on. You can go on proof of funds, etc., and add more placeholders if you wanted to. So in your real world life of creating a transaction, it's going to look more intensive than this rather than just three forms and a placeholder. But that's how you create a transaction. That's how you use the software. So if you get out of this transaction by clicking at the very top, sure enough, you will see there is Charlene West Covina. We click it, and there is the property built in 1947. Wow, it's got good bones, I guess. Very strong bones. Parties, Charlene, and there's those documents. So that's how you create a transaction. Any questions about everything that I've done so far regarding using the software? Sorry. I see a question. I'm trying to get to the question. Q&A. Time zone setting. Asia time is 15 hours ahead of California time. When the listing agent sent out counter offers close to midnight California time, and the client is Asia. Client signing date is like signing next day. Yes. Do you mean if the agent set the time zone, then his or her client's signing time will use California time? Thanks. This is from Mylene Chow. Mylene Chow, I would use the time zone of where your client is. That's it. Just use the time zone of where your client is, even if it shows that it's a different time zone. Placeholder was under forms from Alex. Um, yes. No, it wasn't under forms. It was, let me show you, going into that particular transaction, go into documents and add a doc. There's an icon for adding a doc. And once you click add a doc, there's create a placeholder. If we create a placeholder, we can do proof of funds, for example. So it'll be a reminder that, oh yeah, I need proof of funds to show proof that this person, Charlene client, really does have the money that she's claiming to have to buy this house in full. So yes. Any questions about what I've done so far? Let's see, took care of that one. How to import data. Let's see, Fred, how to import data. You want to import um, from a file. So in other words, if you've created transactions in zipForms in the past and you've saved it on your computer, you can browse for a file on your computer and then have it populated. Problem is that I don't have any past transactions I've created on my computer to be able to browse it. So that's how you would, that's what the purpose of it is. Because the transactions will stay on the account for 5 years. And I say 5 years because it could change. Um, they say 7 years sometimes, but 5 years for sure. At 5 years, that's when I would say save your transaction on your computer and then pull it up, import it, and put it back on, and that'll start the process all over again. Um, and then delete it from your computer because unless your computer's has really good security, but I would still not feel comfortable if someone were to able to hack. I mean, any transaction you create, the most important thing is to make sure that the data that you have of yourself and your client is secure. So having it online like this, it's secured by the California Association of Realtors. Um, if you do it on your own outside of the California Association of Realtors website of zipForms, please use the extra steps to make sure it is secure. Encrypt it. How to ask a client for his or signature and authenticity. Um, so that will be best answered later today because I'm going to show you how to send it out for signatures. Um, yes, I'll send it out for signatures. And we're going to use the function of not DocuSign, but AuthentiSign. So just want to let you know. Okay. Actually, we're going to send it. We're going to do it in just a moment. But any questions before we move on to the next step? Because I don't want to be a bad person and move on without answering your questions. Okay, excellent. Okay, we're going to move on. So the first thing is, before you have it set up for digital signatures, is to have a conversation with your client. Some clients are not comfortable sharing data on a computer. Some people don't trust computers. Some people don't have a computer. Yeah, don't have a computer. Some people don't maybe have an email address, but they don't really use it for anything other than talking to family. So make sure you have the conversation first with your client to make sure that they're comfortable doing electronic signatures. Um, I know with using zip forms, you could send the documents out to the client to send it. I mean, for them to electronically send it. If you're using an iPad, you have that same capability, but there's also using an iPad, you could download an app called zipForm Mobile where you can have them sign right on the screen through the app of zipForm Mobile. So if you do a fantastic listing presentation and wow this new potential client, they say, yes, I want to sign up today, have you represent me selling this property, then by all means, you can use an iPad to be able to do it immediately and then be able to input that listing later that day. But the first is the conversation with the client to make sure that they're okay with using a computer. So once you get the buy-in on that and they understand it's okay to use, then we can send out for signature. So the first step I'll do is I'm going to click a document. For example, I'm going to pick on the California Residential Purchase Agreement, the RPA. That's one of the most popular forms out there. And then here is where the documents are. So the first document is the one I chose, appears on the top. If there are more documents that I want to um, put up here, I can be able to click and drag it up if I wanted to. If I don't like the order of it, say, oh, I want the agent visual inspection on first, I can do with that on top. If I say to myself, oh gosh darn it, I didn't want that included to be sent out for signatures, I can click it and it won't eliminate it from the transaction. It'll still stay in the transaction, but it won't be in this workspace, they call it. So this workspace is only going to have one document. This is my practice session. If you, for some reason, wanted to print the residential purchase agreement, you could, of course, fill it out and make sure the information is done so that way the client could take a look at it. If you click and print, you can't print a blank one, but you can start with printing a sample. The sample will show you what it looks like, the current form, and it says sample all over the front of it. So you can share that with your client, see the information that's on that particular form. If you wanted to print the actual document, because like let's say the client is saying, you know what, let's not have me do electronic signatures. Let me just have you come over and have me sign it with a pen, paper. Like, no problem. After you complete all this, making all the changes that you wanted to, you're representing Charlene client, the buyer, and filling out everything else. Like, let's say, let me just fill out one thing. Oh, purchase price. We're going to put a purchase price of how much? $250,000 cash. But Leo, the listing price was 2.5 million. Yeah, I know. I know. We're practicing. Is the listing agent and the client, the selling agent, client is going to approve this $250,000? I don't think so. But that's the offer that Charlene client wants to put in. Okay, so we'll put it in. So when I print this out, you will see in just a moment, because, and this is assuming I went through the extra step of filling out everything. I hit the check mark there in that box saying Charlene client is the representing as a buyer, and she put a whopping $250,000. She wants to pay $250,000 cash for this property that's being sold online at 2.5 million. Okay. And that's how you would print it and share it with your client so that way they can do a wet signature on it. And you, of course, you do your fiduciary duty to make sure they understand what they're signing for each and every single page, as well as initial where they're supposed to. But let's say Charlene's okay with electronic signatures, so you filled out everything that you needed to. The last thing you're going to do is going to take a look at the parties. There's Charlene right there. There's the listing agent. There's myself. The listing offer, the offer price, $250,000. Yeah, right. And then there's clauses. Clauses we can talk about later. And then we'll send out, and there's tools. If you want to add a text box for whatever reason, you don't want to really add text boxes to anything that's offered by CAR unless it requires it. Now, if you do a text box, it's just going to be clicking and you're going to put in information here, info. And then you can make it, change the font size to 16, whatever. But if you made this in error, you can also hit delete and get rid of it. If you use highlight, it will sometimes blacken out what you highlight when you print it out. So I know it helps make it easier to see, but it makes it difficult when you print as well. So be wary of the highlight. So let's say you went over the entire RPA contract, each page, each section. You completed it. Now you're ready to send it out to the client for signatures. You click prepare signature, prepare signing, I should say. Now by default, it's going to, for the signing name, it's going to write down the name of the contract at the very first one. You could have multiple contracts you're going to send out, multiple documents to send out, but it's going to put in the name of the contract at the very top of the list or disclosure at the top of the list. So if you wanted to, you can rename it to something else. West Covina offer. So that way Charlene's, okay, so it's her name. So when she sees the documents come over to her for electronic signature, she's like, oh, okay, I know what this is for. It shows that if you wanted to use the DocuSign, you can, but you have to go back into settings. Now, the other thing is, at the very beginning when we created the transaction, I created this folder called Signed Documents. So I want my return folder, whatever I sign, wherever she signs, to go into Signed Documents, because it'll make it much easier for me to keep track of the icons that are going to be used for sending it out for signatures versus the one that's already been signed and completed. So we've done the preparation. Now the next step is add participants. So we're not going to add myself. We're not going to add new. We're going to add it straight from the transaction because the software knows the roles that each individual plays in this. If you add it from contacts, it may not understand the role that the individual plays in this transaction. Because we've already said in the beginning, buyer one is Charlene. So we're going to send the documents out to Charlene. I can send it to myself, but I'm just showing you how to send out documents to a client. So I'll just pick on Charlene. If there are multiple individuals, multiple buyers, I can set a signing order. So Charlene would be number one. If there was a buyer two, I would be a buyer two, and so on. The nice thing about the signing order is that it gives me the opportunity to speak to Charlene, go over the residential purchase agreement, do my due diligence to make sure she understands each page that she's agreeing to, initial, etc., and then repeat the same process for buyer two. So that way I never get accused years from now that this agent, me, didn't go over any of the materials and just told the client to click, 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 click. You never want to be accused of that. Do your due diligence, go over every single page, and make sure the client understands what they're signing for. And if there's any question, you can reach out to your broker or the California Association of Realtors Legal hotline for assistance. So after choosing signers, we go to documents. Okay, if you wanted to pull additional documents, you can. This one last area where you can be able to do so, but for demonstration purpose, we'll skip this. If let's say that we wanted to add additional signatures, we can be able to drag and drop it here. If we do that in Air, we can always just go ahead and click it and just say oops and delete it. If we do initial, same thing. We can drag and drop it. If we make it a oops, then we just click it and we could throw it in the can and so on. So there's text lines where they can allows the client to be able to write information, a checkbox. There's other choices here. Full name and email address, auto date, etc. So, but this is how you would add these areas that needs a signature, initials, etc., into a document that perhaps you upload onto a transaction for signatures. So this is where you would do so. But if you look at the California Association of Realtors document here, it already shows that it's already highlighted, but still, there are times when even this is misses a spot. We have seen cases where documents were missing checkboxes. We're like, well, you should have really a checkbox there. So we've had to go to the over here and say, okay, we're going to grab this checkbox and put it here where it's supposed to. Like let's say it's supposed to go there. But if it doesn't go there, then trash it. So once again, do your due diligence, understand the residential purchase agreement, understand all this information before you send out to your client. Once you do it, you've done your due diligence and gone through everything, gone through how many pages? Wow, 28 pages. That's a lot. After you do that, you click next. Now, by default, it's going to expire 30 days from now. You can change it though. You can change it to earlier. You could change it to later if you wanted to. Let's say October 1st. You could change it at this time. You could change it to a different time if you wanted to. If you wanted to send reminders to that client, you could send it to every day, every other day. Let's not be mean and send it at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's mean. Let's do 10 o'clock in the morning. Let's give them some time to sleep in a little bit. And then a customized events, customized invite, that allows you to do one last message to the client before they sign anything. So for example, uh, West Covina offer. This will be on the subject line. And then I would say, and you don't have to write anything down if you don't want to, but it's might be a good idea to maybe perhaps tell the client do not sign any documents until I review these with you first. But it's entirely up to you. It's not a necessity, but something you can consider. And then I click send, and now it's on its way over to the client. While it's sending out to the client, there was a question. Is it a bug that the bathroom mirror always checked? I don't know. I don't know. I really just don't know. Huh. Okay, let's go look. Answer live and click done. Okay, so we're going to look at residential purchase agreement. Really? Mirror. Really? Okay. You got me curious. I wonder if this will allow me to look for a mirror. Well, Shazam. Oh, by the way, what I did up here, in case you don't know, in Windows, I learned it long ago, Control F. Control F like find. So Control F. And yeah, sure enough, it does show it. Let's go back up. Wow. I mean, yeah. And I can't uncheck mark it either. You know what? That's made me very curious. Okay. I'm gonna write to CAR about that. I can't imagine a home without mirrors. I can actually. But, if you live with Medusa, yeah, you don't want mirrors, but yeah, perhaps somebody doesn't want to have a mirror. But I never noticed it until you pointed that out. Thank you very much. Here. So anyways, so what I've shown you is what the process of sending it out for signatures. Now, of course, there's more into this process of the client receiving the email, acknowledging it, and then signing, and then it goes back to you. You'll have a certified, a finalized copy of it, as well as a client as well, after all parties have signed it. So if you send a document out for 3 people to sign this document, residential purchase agreement, then after 1, 2, and 3 have all signed it, then at the very end, everyone, all 3 individuals who signed it and yourself, you're also going to receive it. So that's how you send out items for digital signatures. There's actually different ways within zipForms to send items out for signatures. You can go here for e-sign, for example, and start by clicking new and do the e-sign. Um, but a lot of times when I do a training, I just say, go in the documents, choose the document you want to send out, just at least one document. And then from there, we can add more documents that you've already built into the transaction and then send it out. So any questions about that so far? Do we want to see what it looks like on the client's end? I can do that if you want. Let's do that. We got time. Because you know why we have time? Because there's only one instructor, and that's me. So we're going to go in and go into Charlene Client, the email account for her. This is Charlene. I know it says my name. Ignore that. This is Charlene's account, her email address. She's received it. This is what your client is going to see when she signs by Authentisign. So, signing invitation. Hello, Charlene Client. Leo Luera. The agent is inviting you to participate as a signing party in Authentisign e-signature document signing. So the signing name, this is the subject line that I put in, West Covina offer. This is what I wrote down. Please do not sign any documents until I review these with you first. And then after having the conversation with the client, I will advise the client, go ahead and start signing. They click the icon. Now, the client for the first time will be asked of the consumer consent disclosure, the lone wolf terms of service, and the supplemental terms applicable to electronic signature products. I recommend to either print those or download those on your computer to be able to have that readily available in case you have a client that has questions about any of those, any of these, because you don't want to be saying, I don't know, you'll just have to read it. Well, your client wants, the reason why your client is there is wanting you to make it easier to understand what they're signing for, what their rights are. So please invest extra time to understand those three. And like I said, have it readily available. You just simply click it and it opens up a window. You can print it or save it to your computer. So Charlene client is going to accept it. So she accepts it. Now, the first time that Charlene signs something, she's going to be asked to choose a font style. There'll be, I forget how many, 6 or 8 of them, but she'll choose one that she likes. She can even upload her own signature, or she can create it right there on the spot. But in this case, I've already chosen a font style for Charlene client. So I can either tell her to click start here, or I can tell her to scroll down until you find the right spot. I've explained all this to her. Agent requesting both seller and buyer, buyer's agent, seller and buyer responsibilities. She understands it. I tell her, are you comfortable with this? You understand it? Go ahead and click it. See what happened? It skipped a bunch of information. It went all the way down from there, past page 2, and all the way past down to page 3 on the very bottom. So there's a lot of information that has been skipped. So you do have to take the extra time to do your due diligence to explain what everything here means. You don't want the client to check something that they did not intend to check. And later on, you have a lawsuit, possible lawsuit in your hands trying to say, well, you clicked it. And you're like, well, you didn't explain what that meant. So don't put yourself in a bad situation. Go over the information, do your fiduciary duty. Once the client understands, the client will start check hitting the checkbox if they agree to it, and so on. So these are required fields to check before you go on. I'm just going to quickly do it because, well, there's 27 items. That's the nice thing about Authentisign. It shows you how many items you have to do. So we're at 5 of 27. Now, there's another checkbox that we're going to encounter that's optional. The optional one behaves far different than the way DocuSign does it because, and I think it's better, this is the optional one. Now in DocuSign, where it's optional, you either click it if you agree, or you just skip it if you don't agree. The wonderful thing about Authentisign is that if the client clicks it, they have to click it, and then it gives them a choice, either accepting it declining it, or cancel, so that way they can further consult with you. So if they hit cancel, they're like, okay, let's have a discussion about liquidated damages. What does that mean? What kind of liquid are we talking about? Like, no, it's not liquid. And then, of course, you go through the time explaining what liquidated damages are. So if they accept it, they accept it. Great, they understand it. The section here about arbitration, let's say you go through the entire thing, and if they click and they say, I'm going to decline it, you're like, you can still explain to them, but if they want to decline it, that's their right to decline it. Now, do you see the behavior of right here versus right here? So you'll notice that um, you have to zoom in a little bit. You can barely see the initials there. So you can see the squiggly of the two CCs right here versus the D, which they decline. So it does behave differently. Well, we're almost done. See, 67%, 18 out of 27. So this is how you send it out for signatures. This is what the client is going to experience. And when they're done with the whole process, you're going to see that at the very end, complete signing. Now, if they skipped one, what's going to happen is that it's going to go back to that spot that they skipped. And you want to make sure you explain that section again once again to them, and they'll have to initial sign whatever that's required in that spot. But once they're done, complete signing, they're done, and they're asked for feedback from Authentisign, which they don't have to do. So you can just tell them, okay, once you complete that, you're done. You're technically done with your portion that you're responsible for. So, and the next step will be Charlene gets a finalized copy after everyone that was in that signing session has signed it. In this case, it was just her. Then she will get a copy of the documents. There's a link to it. Here's a link to the certificate showing proof it was her that signed the information with the IP address that was involved. Here's separate links for that. And then also, here it is, the California Residential Purchase Agreement that she signed and initialed all over the place. And there it is, Charlene Client, and so on. That goes further down. So that's for her record. She can keep it. The nice thing is that you'll have also a record of it as well in case there's a house fire, she loses the computer, she loses access to her online docs for whatever reason. You'll also have a copy within zipForms. And to find it in zipForms, I could show you in just a moment. Hi, Carol, if you have a question to the Q&A. Okay. All right, we have a question. Before I go into that, when are we going to receive the recorded video? Probably on Monday, Carol. We'll try to get to you if we can get it sooner by tomorrow. I don't think we can, but you'll definitely receive it by Monday. So if you have other questions, please let me know. And honestly, if all those who are attending are going to definitely receive a link to it. You can also find some of our videos that we recorded in the past. And you can find them on our website at ocrealtors.org. Under the drop-down menu of education, I'll go there. ocrealtors.org, education, scroll down to, scroll down. Let's try it again. Scroll down to video library on the very bottom. There's the video library. There are different topics. There's zip forms. And then the link that we're having, the video that we're recording today is going to end up on this page as well. There we go. So it's going to show up here eventually. As you can see, there's zipForm tip, how to change digital signing services, tools and tips, digital signatures, etc. And then this one, advanced zipForm digital signatures, there's me right there. So if you want to see me again, hear my wonderful voice, there you are. Any other questions? So we saw how a client will see um, go through the entire process of do digital signings, and then also get the finalized document, finalized PDF showing that they did sign the documents, and then that way it will show up on your end. Oops, I clicked something where I shouldn't have clicked. No, I don't want to create a new workspace or use the old one. By the way, if you go back into the workspace, it's still saving the data no matter what. So whatever you did in the last workspace and open up a new workspace, it's fine. You're not going to lose any information. It's just saying that you have the ability to do something different. Perhaps you need to put another offer, a counter offer, send out another agent visual inspection, etc. Okay, so signed documents, where do they end up at? Ah, there they are. California Residential Purchase Agreement. There's the AuthentiSign, and it's slowly coming up with the world's fastest internet. There we are. And now there are the documents. There we go. Signed by Charlene Client, etc. And you'll see her initials everywhere. For example, you'll see her initials right there, and so on. You can either download it, print it, send it out to someone else. There's additional signings that have to be done on it. On this finalized PDF, you're going to have to do the drag and drops. You're going to have to drag and drop the signature fields, the initial fields, etc. Because once it's finalized, this document loses all those highlighted fields. So just want to let you know about that. So there you go. That is how you create a transaction. You're pretty good. It's 3:06. How about if we take a 10-minute break? Well, let's say it's going to be 3:07. And let's take a break for a good 10 minutes. Go ahead and stretch out. Go get a cup of coffee, or soda, water, and we'll see you back at 3:17. Okay? Ask away if you have any questions. I'm so Sangeetha. Hope I pronounced your name. I apologize if I didn't. I missed how it went into signed documents. Was it automatic? When we went through the process of sending out the documents over to the client, there was a line that said um, return documents. I think that's the right wording of it, return documents. And you have to click a link to choose it. Now, if you don't do it, sometimes it looks like it disappears. I'll be honest with you, but you can find a way to get it. But just to minimize the, where did it go? Okay, don't go through that, especially at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's better at the very beginning to create a folder that says signed documents. And then when it says, when you're asked of it before you send out for signatures and for return documents, you choose the folder that you wanted to put it in. Now, let's say you forgot to create a folder that says signed documents and you don't want to go back, then you can click the folder and click main. It'll follow in line with the other icons there. So in other words, it won't be in this beautiful folder that says signed documents. It'll be mixed in with all the other ones. So it'll be, you can still find it and you still have the capability to move it into a folder. It's a little bit more challenging, but it's possible. So to minimize your drama in your life, yeah, just when you send out for signatures, return docs, it's going to go into your signed documents folder, which you created in the very beginning. Okay. Any other questions? Ah, Sangeetha, makes sense. Thank you so much. I prefer it to be in a separate folder called signed docs. Yes, you perfectly said my name. Ah, thank you. Uh, I try. I sincerely try to say people's names correctly. Um, believe it or not, people mispronounce my name. I know, Leo, Leo, but different. If you spell it Leo, which I do, in different cultures, different languages, it's pronounced not Leo, for example. It'll be pronounced Leo. And I'm like, no, I don't like Leo. It just sounds like a soft name. Leo is a stronger name. I can emphasize more of the EO. Yeah, it's because I was raised hearing that EO rather than Leo. So I know, but and I try to when I see different names from that I'm not familiar with, I'll give it a try. I do. Anyone else with a question? But you don't have to ask a question. You can sip on water if you wanted to. And while we're waiting, show you something else from our beautiful website of ocrealtors.org. Now we go to ocrealtors.org. You can go into a lot of resources that are here. Member services, membership, if we can skip that. We have a lot of information on MLS. So if you wanted to find out rules and policies, advertising rules, coming soon status, exclude listing from MLS, showing property, will your key work in that area? Um, this is something that we revised recently, um, per my request. This is the super page where we have a lot of information is how to set up your super key service. So if you don't have a super key service yet, you can contact someone on our membership team to be able to get that process started for you. You have to have an active MLS account for us to, at the very least, to be able to set you up for that service. And we can assist you with that. This talks about the super lockbox. This talks about how to get the key out of that lockbox and how to open the shackle to secure the lockbox to the property. You don't want to be the person who leaves the lockbox on the doorstep and then finding out later, oh, look, someone picked up the lockbox and threw it through the window to gain entry to the property. It's sad. It's not funny. I'm coughing. Um, but because it's someone's home, and so just don't be that person, please. Make sure the lockbox is secured to the property. This tutorial is also to help you understand how to use a super key service, super FAQs, coverage areas, super web. Super web allows you to generate reports of what properties you visited with your super key service. Also generate reports of who's been accessing your lockbox. We call it a showing report. So that way you can share with your client how many agents have visited your lockbox, how many agents have gone into the property, etc. The notifications are sent via the showing agent's smartphone. The smartphone is the one that communicates to Supra, the cloud service. It's not the lockbox. The lockbox doesn't have a way of communicating other than to the smartphone that's directly right in front of it via Bluetooth. It doesn't have capability of sending a signal out. So if you get a notification that someone's accessed the lockbox yesterday, but you get the notification just today, it's because that agent's key service didn't allow an update, didn't allow for the information to be sent to Supra until their Super key service was automatically updated. And that happens typically between midnight and 6 in the morning. There is a capability to disable that through the Super eKey application, so you may get the notification later, unfortunately. So it's all dependent on that agent's key. If you're representing a seller, you could take the extra step and tell the showing agent to press update on the Super eKey application after they've left the property. So that um, might help you understanding at what time they were in the property. Another Q&A. If I have an email address, same as my partner, should I change mine to a different email and for my information page? I would say yes. I would definitely say yes. We've had agents, spouses, for example, spouses who have the same email address, but then that creates headaches when one of those two forget their user ID or password. So just to minimize the problems with that, I would recommend having a separate email address. Oh, by the way, we have a couple more minutes. The Super City Guide, which I just clicked on the super page, this was a labor of love. It really was. I worked hard on this. This took about a couple months to put this together. I put together about 1,300 different cities and towns throughout the state of California. Is it perfect? No. It's pretty dang close, but it's not perfect. If you see any mistakes, then please let me know. So, here's the question. So, what does a city guide mean? It means that if you use a super key service and you want to visit Lodi, city of Lodi in California, you're going to realize that Lodi, the city of Lodi, the board of realtors that governs that area will be Lodi. They use super key service, but our key service does not automatically work out there. It doesn't work out through the entire state of California. It works with some MLSs because of a data share agreement. But this one, it does not. So will a Lodi agent, will their keys work in our board? No. So if you ever wanted to go to Lodi and access their lockboxes, you'll have to contact MetroList. That's the governing MLS that takes care of that area. Or you can contact the Lodi Board of Realtors for assistance. So, but I will be honest, I worked really hard to put that together. And if you if you see mistakes, please send me an email. I'll go ahead and take a look and see if I can correct that. Or give an explanation of why I came up with that answer, because a lot of the information I pulled from the association's website, if it was available, or I had to make a judgment call because if it's close to their board, I had to say more than likely it is that board that takes care of that city. Like, for example, Modoc. I had never heard of Modoc. Modoc County is in the top right corner of California, and they don't even have a local board. So they don't have a key service as well. Those agents in Modoc, they have to contact the California Association of Realtors to gain access to the realtor benefits. So if you ever visit Modoc County, you'll just have to contact the listing agent for assistance. Okay, so Modoc, I have another question before we start. Thanks for making the city guide. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Carolyn. I appreciate that. If you come from different boards, um, no one has anything like this. No one. And I invite you to take a look at different boards. If they have something like this, let me know. But this is a free member benefit that we created to make your life easier because honestly, sometimes you have to go where the money's at, and that will take you sometimes out of Orange County. So if you want to make sure that your super key service will work in West Covina, then you could be able to find out, yeah, indeed, it does work in West Covina because it's the board of Citrus Valley Association of Realtors. There's our super key service. Yes, it will work. Will a West Covina agent have access to our listings in Orange County? Yes, they can because there's a data share agreement. Well, really, they use CRMLS just like we do. But yeah, that's how you would find out about your super key service. Okay, so the next topic, what are we talking about next? Oh, we're going to talk about, let me go back to the list because it's easy just to go back to the list. We're going to talk about templates. Templates. Has anyone ever used a template in zipForms before? Anyone? Um, and if you haven't, that's okay because I'm going to go over that with you right now. And as I talk, I'm going to give a chance for anyone to respond. The template allows you to, instead of going through the process of adding forms one at a time to a transaction, you do the process of, you add the templates once, and then you could populate it into a new transaction. And this comes in handy if you are representing buyers all the time. But this really comes in handy for those unique situations when you have a probate situation. Like, oh my gosh, what forms do I need in probate? Well, if you talk to your broker, you talk to the California Association of Realtors legal hotline, they can tell you what forms you need. And that's when you build a template just for probate. So it's ready for that situation when it arises. Or short sale and foreclosure. Those documents are readily available in case you ever need to go into a template and generate it there. Um, Sangeeta has a question. Do you have a few minutes after class to answer a question on printing a form? I would like to share screen. I'm a new agent. My question may not be relevant to everyone. It's very basic. When I try to click on a form to print it out, I can't seem to go back to my dashboard anymore and have to go through a login process again. We can go over it together after the class is over. So, um, send me an email, please. Leo at ocrealtors.org. Leo at ocrealtors.org. I will create a separate link to you, so it'll be just a one-on-one between you and I. So that way we can be able to go over that together. I I'm conscious of making sure that I don't share your personal information. There we go. Elsie was nice enough to share my contact information. Leo at ocrealtors.org. Thank you, Elsie. So templates. So create templates for unique situations. Create templates for if you're going to be working with buyers, renters, landlords. Make these templates, put in all the work in the beginning. So that way you're not scrambling around trying to figure out like, oh, what form do I need in a given situation? It's right there. Um, Before we do templates, Christine Vo is asking, what is the difference between using Glide and zipForms? Glide and SkySlope are two different ways to use CAR forms to do transactions. Glide is a tool that you can take advantage of through CRMLS. We won't go over that too much other than that you can contact CRMLS for assistance. A lot of agents find it easier to go through Glide rather than going through zipForms. But it doesn't have as many tools as available within zipForms, in my opinion. SkySlope, it's new. I haven't played with it yet, so I don't know too much, but I understand it's also easy to use to access the forms. Um, so these are just two different ways to access forms that hopefully make life a little bit easier for you. Sky, I just want to let you know about Glide. Glide was approved to use CAR forms. It was supported by CAR, but then it was bought by a real estate company. And from our understanding, there's not a way to delete transactions from Glide, from what I've been told. I can't verify that because I don't use Glide. But there's concerned there's some concern that the data might be shared with this real estate company. I can't I don't know if it's true or not. But the feeling was that we can definitely go over how to use zip forms because we understand that it's secure. Um, it's been a product that's been around for many years, and it's supported by the California Association of Realtors. So templates. So let's go build a template. So I click templates, forms, and checklists. Excuse me, getting all choked up. Okay, sorry about that. So I'm going to create a template. So at the very beginning, I'm going to click New on the top left after clicking Templates. Now in this practice, we're going to pretend that we're going to create a template because we're representing clients left and right in Orange County. So I'm going to type in OC, let's go purchase offer. OC purchase offer. We want to keep it as a very general statement, so that way it'll be easier for us to look at that when the need arises. And it's going to be in the category of residential. We have access only to personal ones. If you're using a brokerage account and you're the broker of record, you've paid extra for this brokerage account through CAR, zipForms, you would have access to the office and global, where you can be able to you can input a template to be shared by any of your agents. But this is an individual account that I'm going over, which is the great majority of you that are using it. So you're going to be using just the personal one. Q&A before I hit that. That's good info. You're welcome, Christine. Christina. So we hit residential. Now the choices, auto apply. What does this mean? So if working from the bottom up, automatically apply this template to all new transactions. So if my job function in real estate is I only handle buyers, then this is it. I am going to only handle buyers and no one else. No one else on the planet. So you click that. Okay, maybe I don't do that. Maybe it's automatically apply this template to purchase residential new transactions. Okay, but what if you get a probate? What if you get something that's different out of the ordinary? You know what? I recommend do not automatically apply this template to new transactions. When you need it, you apply it when that time arises, and I'll show you how to do it. So I recommend do not automatically apply this template to new transactions. When the need arises, you're going to do it. First step. What did I say before? Add a folder. What is it going to be? Signed documents. How about, those placeholders we talked about? Let's add a placeholder. Inspection reports. Let's get another one. Placeholder. Proof of funds. You can make it required if you wanted to, but I'll leave it as that. Oh, by the way, if you're adding stuff, you're like, where'd it go? Where did it go? Click folders. Should appear. It's making me a little nervous. Well, fine. I'll keep on going. It'll show up. Just trust me. I'm going to go in the Forms library because the last one we touched was the Orange County Library. We're going to add the Orange County Local Area Disclosure. Okay. In the California Association of Realtors, you can add buyer representation and broker compensation agreement. You can add the California Residential Purchase Agreement. You can add, well, let's see, agent visual inspection. There we go. And you can keep on going on and on and on. So there's a lot of forms that you can use, which I don't see anything here yet. If I go into checklists, I'll explain checklists in a moment. I go back to documents. Where did they go? I'm a little nervous. Okay, I want to go here. Well, that's fine. If you're currently modifying a purchase template, click here if you want to create a new purchase transaction. How do I do that? Well, this makes me nervous. Where'd everything go? Let's do it again. Let's see what happens. Sign docs. Okay. Sometimes when software misbehaves, sometimes we know that it was created by humans. Because typically when you hit folders, it should pop up again. Okay, so we went over this. Agent visual inspection. Get rid of that. Actually, buyer representation, residential purchase agreement. The one we talked about before was OC Realtors disclosure form. Oh, you know what? EPUBs. Environmental hazards, protecting your family from lead. Home energy rating pamphlet. Homeowner's Guide to Earthquake Safety, Earthquake Hazards Report, Homeowner's Guide signature. So, I mean, your situation is going to be far more complex than what I'm doing. This is just a template. So anytime I create a offer on a property, all these will appear. If I don't need something, then I can always remove it. So let me show you how to add this template and apply all these forms to it. So let's go into transactions. We're done with that template. We're going to add a new transaction, new purchaser offer. We're going to go with a new listing. Let's see. NS 250351114. A little way of getting away from everything in beautiful San Miguel, California. Yep, looks like you want to get away from everything. San Miguel. Oh, and I forgot to put in the name of the person. Let's do George Castle, my new client, George Castle. But Leo, it's in San Diego. It's supposed to be in Orange County. It's okay. Don't worry, we'll get there. We're going to pretend it's in Orange County. Now, this here, where it says select template, this is where you're going to choose your template that you created, and then you can just skip transaction comments if you wanted to, and then click, if I could see it, click save. So now we're going to just, yeah, there's the property right there, San Miguel. And if we look at documents, we see that all the items that we created in that template are now available here. If there is something that we don't want, like say the Orange County local area disclosure, we can always click this little icon here. The drop-down menu appears. You want to choose delete. By all means, go and delete it. Delete it from the transaction. You can keep everything else if you wanted to. If there was anything else that you want to delete, you can do so. If you want to add more forms, yes, go ahead and do so. Go back to the California Association of Realtors Library and add whatever form you want. Sure, agricultural addendum, whatever you want. And you just keep building it, building more and more onto your transaction. And that's it. That's how you use a template. So you have one for, you can rep a template for representing a buyer, representing a seller, probate, etc. So that's how you create a template. Any questions about that? It's, as you can see, it's like, wow, that looks doesn't look too hard. And honestly, it isn't. The hard part is just choosing the right documents that you want to use in a future transaction. Um, and if you ever encounter a situation like, oh my gosh, this was such a huge transaction I just finished last month, maybe I should remember all those documents. Well, you can. You could just create a template and have that readily available in case a probate ever pops up again, or a short sale, foreclosure, etc. that pops up in the future. And there it is. That's a template. So as you can see, it saves a lot of time rather than just going into 3 different libraries to pull this all together, and or creating, I mean, adding document folders and placeholders, etc. You see that you're going to save a lot of time and energy doing it this way. So what do you think about that? Hope that's going to be a time saver for you. Now, something else. I know we got 26 minutes until the class over, but I think that I'm going to just show you a couple things. Not because I'm running out of battery. It's really because I want you to touch a tool that we don't normally touch when we have a class. There is this drop-down menu of TXN tools. We call it transaction tools. So the one thing I want to point out would be Forms Tutor. Forms Tutor appears here, but it also appears in the California Association of Realtors website. So if I click this under Transaction Tools, it goes into the California Association of Realtors website. Let me sign in first, because honest to goodness, it keeps logging me out, which is going to happen to you as well. So I've logged in again. The Forms Advisor used to be a tool that would give you suggestions of what forms you need in a given situation. CAR is giving a suggestion tool. I haven't perfected that yet, so I can't recommend that yet, but I still recommend you contact the California Association of Realtors legal hotline for assistance or your broker. The Forms Tutor, for meantime, gives you a guide over the top 40 some most popular forms that you need. When you access Forms Tutor, you'll click this button here. You will be able to see the most popular forms that are available to you. I know it displays 10, but you can change it to 50 if you wanted to, or more than that. So you can scroll down to say, oh, let's look at, rather than looking for the RPA, just type in RPA. So after typing in RPA, we have the RPA broken down into 3 different sections. Um, let me move this out of the way. One of these days. Okay, I'm out. Okay. Hmm. Trying to move this out of the way. Oh, what you're not seeing is that I'm kind of stuck on this. I have a closed caption on. I'm trying to disable it, but it won't let me to. So, okay. Well, so we have the art residential purchase agreement broken up into 3 different sections. We have pages 1 through 6, 7 through 12, and other additional information, part 3. So if I go over section 1, section 1 starts with the residential purchase agreement, pages 1 through 6, and you can be able to get a better understanding of this contract. Now, because a lot of us are new, we're like, oh, this is really like, there's a lot of words in here. My goodness, it seems a little intimidating. Well, don't worry. One thing is these little blue buttons. If you click the blue button, this will give you additional information how to understand it. You can read this if you wanted to, and it helps you understand it. But somebody like me, I can all read and also listen at the same time. So if I click the play button at the very top, how many heard that? Um, I certainly heard it in my ears. So if you hit the play button, you can read along to the voice. One of the employees from the California Association of Realtors reads this all the way through to help you understand how to use um, this particular form. Sangeetha is asking, how do you get to the Forms Tutor again? This would be found under Transaction Tools or also found on under the CAR website of transactions, and I'll show you that in just a moment. But you can see that there's a lot of information that helps you understand the purpose or reason for every section. Like date prepared. Oh, there's a question about that? The blank line should be completed with the date of the form is prepared by the real estate licensee. That'd be you. The purpose of the line is to make it easy to refer back to the RPA when inserting an addendum, counteroffer, or any other form into transactions. Since it is not possible to know for sure at the time of preparation when the buyer and seller will sign, If at all, the date prepared is a more certain date for reference purposes than the date signed or the date the contract is entered into. So you can read that or you can hit play to better understand the meaning of different sections. So I would say go ahead, invest some serious time into learning about Forms Tutor. Now, the question we had a moment ago was, how do we find Forms Tutor? Well, if you're at the California Association of Realtors website and you're not in zipForms, if you're under the Transaction Center, you're going to click Transaction Center and you're going to scroll down just a little bit and you'll find Forms Advisor and Forms Tutor right down there. And you'll click the link and sure enough, there it is. Forms Tutor will be Access Forms Tutor. The way I showed everyone in the class just a moment ago, I actually went through within zipForms itself and went into transaction tools and found it right here. So as you're sending, like I just did, as you saw, sending documents back and forth with my fictional client, that's okay. Don't send it out to a real listing agent. Don't send it out to someone who's expecting an offer on a property. You don't want to insult them by sending them a fake offer. You can get in trouble for that, so don't do so. But sending it to yourself so that way you can practice, that's okay. And honestly, once you're done practicing, you can always delete it if you wanted to. Click it or actually click this. If you're done with that transaction, you could delete it if you wanted to. We had another question. Q&A. You found it. Thank you. Excellent. Okay. Another item from the transaction tools is the mortgage calculator. Um, some people are surprised by this. And, some of you are very familiar with this. You've seen mortgage calculators, but when you see the look on people's faces that have never used a mortgage calculator, yeah, it could be pretty scary to see on their face the reality of what it costs to buy a property. So let's say, for example, we're looking at a property for $800,000. Okay. Interest rate is well, let's just say not long ago, interest rates were at 2.5, not long ago. And a loan at that time would be 360 months. Okay. So on a $800,000 property at 2.5% interest rate, yeah, it would be $3,160.97 a month. That's excluding additional fees here. If the loan itself, the bottom line was $800,000, the client would be paying $3,160.97 a month. If we click the display table, this is where the eyes open up. So with that $3,160.97, the principal that's paid is $1,494.30. Interest that's paid on that first payment would be $1,666.67. And that's decreased the balance to $798,505. Okay, that's the first payment. That's okay. But if we go down to all the way down to the very bottom on an $800,000 loan, the interest paid was $337,947.67. So they're ending up paying over $1 million on an $800,000 property when that final payment is made on January 2055 when they started at the beginning of this year. If we go back, now remember, $337,000, almost $338,000 on an $800,000 loan. Interest rates, let's say it's 6.25 right now. So 6.25 and 2.5, little bit of difference when it comes to pennies and nickels, but interest rate, no, that's a whole different ballgame. The monthly payment will not be $3,167. It'll be $4,925.74. That's significantly higher, $1,800 more. And let's show you the display table. That now at the very end, yeah, I always take a deep breath. $800,000 loan. You're paying interest of $973,263.82. Yeah. So the interest you're paying is more than the principal. Now, some of you are shocked by this. Some of you are just like, yeah, that's just math. But those who are shocked, if you talk to a real estate agent, a realtor that's been in the business since the 70s, they will tell you that interest rates at one time were double digits, 12%. Granted, properties at that time were probably $68,000, $37,000, $110,000, but the interest rates were double digits back then. 6.25. Nowadays, on an $800,000 property, yeah, it's a pretty significant amount of change. And if you're cased or when you're like, okay, what about that first payment? Well, that first payment, just breathing, just saying it, it's like, wow. Of the $4,925.74, $759.07 goes to principal. The rest of it, $4,166.67 goes to interest. So yeah. So that is something I had to share with you. So that can once again be found under transaction tools, mortgage calculators. So if you're working with a client and they needed, and you wanted to just educate them about, what to expect to pay, you don't have a mortgage calculator readily available, there's one available for you. Um, just to let you know. Now, Alex, yeah, 2.5%. That was funny. 2.5% wasn't that long ago. It really wasn't. And I know it's gone up significantly. Even though we're talking 2 to 6, it's like, to us, for the layman, I mean, sales tax was at 7.75 for a while, and then now it's in 10% in some places like Fountain Valley. So that extra 3% um, doesn't feel that much painful when you're going to the Dollar Tree to buy something. But it is significant when you're talking about real estate. And for Alex, you said that's depressing. And I would say that you want to take the emotion out of it because you want to be able to convey to them you're there to educate them about this entire process. Emotionally, you can feel that about about how you feel about it, but when you're working with a client, you want to make sure that you're in a role of educating your client, taking care of them, making them aware about this transaction, what they're getting into, um, has a cost to it. So, and if they're aware of it and they understand it, okay, then we can move forward. If they're not comfortable with it, then you can take a step back and let's see what's other programs that are available to perhaps you can work with them to see if perhaps there's grants available from certain cities. Um, uh, Perhaps there's different things that you can look at to be able to assist them to decrease that principal, so that where they're not paying as much in interest as you saw just a moment ago. Carolyn, remember, date the rate, marry the house. I have never heard that. I would laugh more, but I might start coughing, so I'm not going to do that. But wise words. Date the rate, marry the house. Yes. Oh, I still want to laugh, but date the rate, marry the house. Hmm. So, but once again, please come from a position where you're educating, you're helping your client. In many cases, this is the biggest transaction they're ever going to do in their life. And once you are sharing that information with them, then it's okay. It's okay to educate them about, yes, your interest is going to be more dollar wise, than in principal, unless you could be able to pay this off early. If you can pay this off earlier than 30 years, you will save a significant amount of interest. So, and that was a 30-year fix, by the way. So we have 10 minutes left. I think that I'm almost out of my decaf coffee. And that's, I think, about the time that we have to say it's been a pleasure working with all of you. I one thing I do have to do right now is I'm going to pull up from one of my files, and I definitely want to share this with you because sometimes we go through, we don't want to, but sometimes we go through drama, and drama occurs at any time of the night. So I'm going to share with you a Microsoft Word thing for you because if you need a help, if you need a help, if you need help, you can give us a call during our business hours. Um, you have my phone number, you have my email address, but also down here, and this is being shared with you, the phone support. This is going to be ZipLogix. They're available 24 hours a day, weekdays. They can be reached at before you write this phone number down feverishly. There's another number. They're also available weekends from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. our time. The California Association of Realtors customer service line, not the helpline, I mean the legal hotline, but the assistance when you have questions about, oh, I need help with zip forms that's beyond what Leo knows. And because they encounter more weird situations than I do, you can reach them at 213 area code 739-8227. There's also some other databases you can go to for assistance. Now down here, I put this together. That's the same number we wrote up top, but it's also 1866 Cry Wolf. You're like, oh, 8 letters. Okay, well, don't worry. 1866 Cry Wolf is really 866-279-9653. There's an option one to press. I called them recently regarding a problem within zip forms. They're very helpful. They take the time to answer your questions, so I recommend giving them a call for assistance. The legal hotline is there. They're only open Monday through Friday from 9 to 6. Saturday, they say they have hours available from 10 to 2, but not always. Um, so I would say they're definitely weekday people. 213-739-8282. They will definitely need your NERDS ID number, the 9-digit number that was provided to you by the board. So do give them a call. And I showed you the video library already. That's found on the bottom of our education drop-down menu. So if you have any further questions, give them a call at the legal hotline if it's a legal question, because I won't be able to answer that question. I can answer questions regarding zip forms if you needed to, regarding how to use the software. But if there's unusual beyond Leo, yeah, zip forms 186 Cry Wolf. Yes, give them a call. They can be able to assist you. And but this is once again my phone number 714-375-9313 extension 239. My email address is leo@ocrealtors.org. I thank you very much for enjoying this time with me for these 2 hours. Oh, I almost made it without that cough. And if you need to do a one-on-one, we have that information on our website. Oh my goodness. And my dear friend Elsie has posted that so you could be able to arrange a one-on-one with me if you need to do so. But you can also reach out via just email or just leave me a voicemail. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. There we go from our dear friend Miss Elsie. And Q&A question. Carolyn says thank you. And I appreciate that, Carolyn. Thank you very much. And I appreciate all of you for attending. And thank you, Anil, Matthew. I appreciate that as well. Well, please go out there, practice, 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 create templates, and do this over and over again. So that way is, thank you, Sangeetha. We'll talk in just a moment. Um, we just do it by muscle memory. If you just practice, you can be able to becoming your own zip form expert in your office as well. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Fred. Thank you all for attending, and I wish all of you a great rest of the day. And do watch out for the video link that we're going to send to you probably by Monday. All right. Have a great day, and we'll talk later. Bye bye now.